Being as I've been teaching in the prison, I have learned the behaviors that the men I teach thought were somewhat okay to carry out in the outside world, in the free world. However, society has deemed those behaviors criminal for these men. Behaviors become crimes through a process of social construction. The same behavior may be considered criminal in one society and then an act of honor in another society, and maybe even in the same society at a different time. The legal status of the behavior, whether it's defined as a crime, lies not in the content of the behavior itself, but in the social response to the behavior, or to the persons who engage in it. Changes in the legal status of a behavior are often brought about by social movements and may entail considerable social conflict. The social response to a crime, including many social science explanations of criminal behavior, are based not only on the qualities of the act, but also on the social and moral standings of the offender and the victims. In prison itself, there are rules and codes of conduct that the inmates must follow as an inmate. For example, the behaviors they do would be considered jail time offenses, yet in the prison, they're considered normal. One example would be that of stealing. On the outside world, of course, we know stealing is a criminal behavior. In the prison, it's a criminal behavior only if you steal from fellow inmates. If you steal from the prison staff or the prison itself, the inmates themselves think that's somewhat normal. Profanity, for example. In my classroom, I don't allow profanity. However, my rule is watch your language. The inmates in their world before they got to prison and in their free world, and even in this world in prison, profanity is part of their everyday speech. It's normal to them. Okay? In my classroom, the rule is, as long as it's not directed at me or another inmate, I don't really call attention to it. I don't bring much attention to the fact that they're using foul language. Therefore, sometimes it tends to be a little bit iffy, but if I remind them, of course, they'll watch their language. Some of the school rules include no candy for their inmates, and this is a big one. For the most part, they know that when they come in the school, they're going to get patted down. When they leave the school, they could be patted down or strip searched. So therefore, bringing the candy in the school is an act of defiance, or it is an act of them trying to get a thrill of not getting caught and see what they can get away with. On my first day of teaching, I had a student who dropped candy on the floor on purpose to see how I would respond. Of course, I walked over to the student, actually picked up the candy and said, "Is this your candy?" He accepted responsibility, waiting for me to respond, waiting to see exactly what I'm going to do. At that point, I handed him the candy. I said, "Hey, if you're going to finish it, please don't leave a mess. Make sure you put the trash in the trash can." I don't allow candy in the classroom. However, if they choose to bring candy, what I tell them is, pick up your trash, don't leave any wrappers, and don't disturb class. Okay? Since then, I've yet to pick up a single wrapper. I haven't got on to anybody really about making noises while they're eating their candy. Okay? So not only have I changed the rule a little bit, but they're also following two other rules, if that makes sense. From the social constructive perspective, a given act or negative behavior such as bringing the candy to school becomes a social problem through the process of successful claims making by social movements or groups, i.e. the prison staff. In response to the problem, prison staff seek to mobilize particular kinds of social responses. For example, in some classes, just the rattling the paper, the paper of the candy, will have that inmate a conduct report or a write-up. When that's going on, the other inmates, as they hear the rattling of the paper, they'll usually get silent, and they wait for that teacher to respond. And my classroom is a little different, as I said. The rattling of the paper is almost an everyday thing. The students in the class don't even disturb class. They keep on working. They stay on task because they know as long as there's trash in the trash can, as long as they don't make a mess, that person can eat the candy.